Well, good morning, Patriots. Good morning. Welcome to the 287th consecutive Friday meeting of the East Valley Red Friday Patriots. What is 287 from 300? Thank you. We're getting there. That milestone is just right around the corner. You know, quite frankly, we got 60 people here today, and this is a unexpected turnout for the day following Thanksgiving. I would think you would agree. You folks must not have a life. Why the hell are you the day after Thanksgiving and you come out? So very true. Well, believe me, I'm in awe of the attendance this morning, and I appreciate very much so the support, as will those people that we are here to honor today, and that's our deployed service members. So thanks to each of you for your presence, and to those who may be viewing this particular program on YouTube, thank you for your support as well. Now, speaking of Thanksgiving here in America, you are aware that the United States military is largely responsible for bringing Thanksgiving to the forefront as a national holiday, are you not? Yeah. Well, you know, for most of us, Thanksgiving is a hallowed American tradition, generally filled with family and food and football, fun. But just to let you in on a little secret, we certainly can attribute its creation to the military. Now, while conventional wisdom dates the first Thanksgiving back to 1621, when pilgrims in Plymouth, Massachusetts joined in with the local native crowd to celebrate the fall harvest, it wasn't to celebrate that particular event year after year. It was a single gathering. In fact, Thanksgiving didn't really become any kind of tradition until we were trying to unify the nation during two of the biggest early struggles, that being the Revolutionary War and the Civil War. During the Revolutionary War, the Continental Congress decided to declare several days of Thanksgiving to help inspire the troops and lead them to victory. And the first such day happened to fall on November 1st, 1777. That's when Congress received news of some specific victories against the British. Well, General George Washington then called for a day of Thanksgiving only 6 weeks later, on December 18th, 1777, as a victory celebration for the colonial army's win against the Battle of Saratoga. Later, when Washington became president, he issued the first formal Thanksgiving proclamation for the United States, setting the date for November 26, 1789. Now, while that date of November 26 fell around that of our current day holiday, Thanksgiving still failed to become an annual tradition until about 75 years later. That was when President Abraham Lincoln decided to renew celebration in 1863, beginning of the Civil War. Even as that particular war raged across the country, Lincoln called for a day of thanks to be held on the last Thursday in November. The day would be known as Thanksgiving, and the tradition finally became official. And for many years, the presidents who came after Lincoln kept Thanksgiving on that final Thursday of the month. But during World War II, there were 2 years in a row in which November had 5 Thursdays. That confused a lot of people. Caused a lot of arguments. Which date would Thanksgiving fall on? So in 1942, Congress passed a resolution to clarify that every 4th Thursday in November would be Thanksgiving Day. Now, as all veterans and active duty service members know, not everyone in the military can stop what they're doing to celebrate the Thanksgiving holiday. But preparations have always been made to make sure that our service members could celebrate in some capacity, even if they were deployed or even if they were on the battlefield. In fact, during World War I, the Red Cross and other auxiliary organizations started to providing Thanksgiving aid to soldiers, while families in places like France, where our soldiers were stationed, would take them into their homes for the day. And during World War II, boxed K rations were replaced with turkey and cranberry for the holiday. It was either shipped in by the military or it was collected from local farmers. Nowadays, the Defense Logistics Agency is able to ship out traditional Thanksgiving dinner of turkey and pumpkin pie and all the fixings to a couple of 100,000 service members across the world. So our deployed service members have also seen some commanders-in-chief roll through their particular bases during the holiday. As an example, President George H.W. Bush, W's father, served Thanksgiving dinner to troops stationed in Saudi Arabia back in 1990, ahead of the Gulf War. And not to be outdone by his old man, President George W. Bush did the same thing in a surprise visit to Baghdad in 2003 at the height of the Iraq War. President Barack Obama made a surprise visit to Afghanistan after the Thanksgiving holiday in 2010. So no matter where you're celebrating the Thanksgiving weekend this year, know that the tradition grew out of our military predecessors' efforts to bring unity to the United States, and we can be thankful for that for sure. So, can I have a Thanksgiving shout out for our deployed warriors? Hoorah! Thank you. Unfortunately, due to some audio issues that have prevailed now for the past several weeks, we will not be able to share with you any videos today. And I know that you enjoy those in order to break up my speeches. I thought so. I thought so. Join me for the pledge, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We do have a few guests this morning that I would like to share with you. Thank you. Rose Simonek, will you raise your hand, please? Rose, back here in the back of the room. Rose has joined us for the first visit today, correct? This is your first time to come out. This is Ken's daughter. both of whom live over at Las Palmas. And I have just familiarized Rose with the East Valley Red Friday Patriots YouTube site so that now you'll be able to catch up on everything that Ken talks about, right?
Yes.
Thank you for joining us today. Appreciate it very much so.
My pleasure.
Also, we have towards the back of the room back there, Tony Piscaturo. Tony, where are you? Raise your hand. There he is. By the way, Tony is a Phoenix area representative for a organization called the Order of the Silver Rose. And at some point here in the near future, we'll probably have him give you a little insight in reference to what that particular organization is about that focuses on our United States veterans. Thank you for joining us today.
You're welcome.
Tony is a United States Army vet. He served 82 to 86. 63 Bravo, what is that?
Recovery specialist and small wheeled vehicle mechanic.
Cool. Recovery specialist, meaning that you were using a recovery vehicle.
Yes.
Would that have been also for armored vehicles?
Yes.
Those are very powerful machines.
Yes. It was an experience.
I can understand that. Thank you for joining us. Also, returning and finally now a permanent resident of the Mesa Apache Junction area is John Mogensen. John, raise your hand, please. John and his wife, Becky, have been down here on numerous occasions, and I'm just informed that they have just moved here permanently. We're glad to have you. And I understand that you very likely are going to try to encourage your son to move here as well.
You bet.
Thank you very much for joining us and supporting our program. Appreciate it, John. I would like to ask our Daughters of the American Revolution to come forward. They have a presentation that they would like to make.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Karen Confederac. This is Kelly McDonald and Sarah Klug, and we are from the Daughters of the American Revolution, the Apache Trail chapter. And back in March, on March 29th, on Vietnam Veterans Day, we handed out about 75 commemorative Vietnam War era pins. And every Friday we come and we try to catch veterans who served during that era which was 1955, November 1955 to May 1975. And we partner with the United States of America commemorative Vietnam War, the 50th anniversary. So we have pins that they have made that we partner with them. And so we would like to give any veteran who served during that era, 55 to 75, does not have to be in country. If you would come up, we would like to present you with a pin, and because it's hard to catch everybody. So is any veteran 55 to 75, doesn't have to be in country, just during that era, who has not received a pin?
If you've not received a pin before from the DAR, then please come forward.
Please come up on stage so we can get you on the video. And Kelly and Sarah will give you the pin and some information about the symbolism on the pin. And at our table back there, we also have some car magnets that say Vietnam Veteran I Served. And we love our veterans, so we've got some magnets over there. And we also have some proclamations from 3 past presidents, and a current president, President Obama, President Trump, and President Biden. So you are welcome to have, pick your favorite president, or you can have all 3. So come on. We already do have a limited stock of one president, and we got a bunch of the others.
Oh my goodness.
Yes, welcome home. We also have a surviving spouse pin. This surviving spouse pin is for a spouse that was somebody who was married to a Vietnam War era veteran. Don't have to be married to them now, could be an ex, but they do need to be deceased. So if you are a living spouse or a surviving spouse of someone who served during that era, if you would like to come up, we would present you with a surviving spouse pin as well. Thank you very much. Thank you for your service and welcome home.
Thank you, Dar. I do appreciate it very much. So, by the way, I understand you have some car magnets over there. Anybody that would like to pick up one of these car magnets following the meeting, just stop over at the Dar group over here and they'll be happy to present one with you. Again, just to make sure, do we have any surviving spouses of veterans who served during the period 1955 through October of 1975? Okay, very good. You know, last Wednesday, November 27, my wife Hank and I celebrated our 48th wedding anniversary. 48 blissful years. So Hank selected a nice restaurant for our evening celebratory meal, and for some strange reason, while we were enjoying our dine out, my thoughts actually drifted back to a recent event that occurred with my cousin Eli over in East Texas. Now, Eli, go ahead. Eli was happily married to a fine lady named Maudie. They were married for dang near 60 years. And during their entire marriage, they shared everything. They made it a point to talk about everything, and they kept absolutely no secrets from each other. Well, however, Maudie had a cardboard box in the top of her closet that she had cautioned Eli to never open. In fact, she was adamant that he should never even ask her about the box. And for all those 60 years, Eli had never even thought about that box. But here a while back, Maudie became very ill. Her doctor counseled them and advised that Maudie would not recover. So, in trying to sort out their affairs, Eli took down the cardboard box and took it to Maudie's bedside. He asked her if the time had come to reveal the contents of the box. And she agreed that the time had come. She said he should know what was in that box. When Eli opened the box, he found 2 crocheted dolls and a stack of money totaling over $95,000. Well, Eli was somewhat confused, and he asked Maudie about the contents. Maudie said, "When we were about to be married, my grandmother told me that the secret of a happy marriage was to never, ever argue. She told me that if I ever got angry with you, that I should just keep quiet and crochet a doll." Well, Eli was so moved by Maudie's comment, He literally had to fight back tears. Only two precious dolls were in that box. That meant that Maudie had only been angry with him 2 times all those years, living, loving. I'm told that Eli was overcome with happiness. He said, "Honey, that explains the dolls, but what about all this money? Where did it come from?" She said, "Oh, that's the money I made from selling the dolls." Have you folks ever given any thought as to how flag officers, our generals, and our admirals of the United States Armed Forces get promoted? Or for that matter, demoted? In other words, what factors, what guidelines, what procedures are employed in determining the promotion or demotion of America's senior warfighters, especially those being considered for 3 or possibly 4 stars? After all, these are the leaders directly responsible for the defense of this country and the safety of its citizens. All of us citizens should have some familiarity with how they're selected, promoted, or in some cases demoted. Our lives, our freedoms, are dependent upon these very same people. Almost daily, I receive announcements from military leaders about military leaders who are relieved of their command, followed by an announcement of their replacement. The statements reciting the reason for relief is always loss of confidence, or in some cases for the good of the service, rarely. For the good of the service means that the removal, the demotion, or the suspension may be made at will, that is, with or without cause. But getting back to the question, what's the process employed in promoting senior leaders of the United States Armed Forces? You know, before reaching the rank of 06, which is a colonel or a Navy captain, officers get promoted based on merit. But after that, promotion to the general or the admiral ranks, in other words, the flag officers, involves a much different process. And it's not without a little who you know and mentorship from the upper echelon, and possibly a little luck that allows these folks to move forward in the upper echelon ranks. Actually, the process is not so much unlike that of the private sector or any other career field. But would you be surprised to learn that there is no structured guideline, nor is there a by-the-book process for selecting and nominating America's most senior military leaders? In fact, the process for selecting candidates for promotion to 3- and 4-star ranks can vary widely based upon the preferences of the administration and the Secretary of Defense. Here's how it goes for 3-star candidates. The military's Joint Chiefs of Staff and the branch secretaries typically select 3-star candidates with input from the Secretary of Defense and the White House. 4-star candidates are generally handled the same way, but with a much higher likelihood that the Secretary of Defense and the President will get directly involved. A candidate for 4 stars may even be called in for a one-on-one with the president. So, the message here is that presidents' administrations choose their own process for selecting and promoting senior military leaders. And every administration does it a little differently. There's no standardization. After all, the president is our commander-in-chief, and he's free to manage the armed forces the way the president chooses, either directly or through his staff. Now, here's what we must understand about the selection process. 3- and 4-star leadership positions are selected in that different manner from the lower 1- and 2-star ranks. 1- and 2-star ranked nominees are first promoted into the rank, and then they are assigned a job. Promoted, assigned. But 3- and 4-star candidates are chosen for a specific command or job, and then they are promoted to assume that role. So as a result, a 3- or 4-star candidate's knowledge of a particular geographical region, their field experience, or possibly previous deployments might qualify or disqualify them for promotion. Whereas candidates for promotion to the lower ranks of 1- and 2 stars undergo a strict evaluation of their performance in previous jobs that determine their promotability. Now, during the flag officer promotion process for 1- and 2-star generals, promotion decisions are based on criteria handed down by the service secretaries that may specify the number of officers needed who have certain field experiences with certain skill sets. For instance, the 1-star flag officers selected for promotion are determined by the needs of the particular branch of service in terms of overall numbers that are required, as well as specific backgrounds or competencies like infantry or armor or public affairs, special forces, aviation, intelligence. And it's quite common for the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff and the Defense Secretary to meet a couple of times each year in order to discuss which 2 stars might possibly fill 3-star positions and which 3 stars might possibly make good 4-star picks. In other words, they pick officers to mentor and groom for future 3- and 4-star slots. Again, mentorship and senior level allies become all important in this process. And the mentors carry the big stick in deciding which of these candidates will be considered for the military's most senior roles. Now, as a side note, some of you may be surprised to learn that the United States military, there are no permanent grades above a 2-star rank. Let me repeat that. There are no permanent grades above a 2-star rank. In other words, the ranks of Major General or Rear Admiral. In fact, 3- and 4-star generals assume the number of stars once they are in the position, and if a 4-star flag officer leaves their job and stays on active duty but does not assume another 4-star position, they revert back to Major General, 2 stars, 4 to 2. I think I would say shove it. I've got my time in. Give me my retirement. Well, on the other hand, if they retire while serving 4-star position, they will retain their 4-star rank. Again, this is because the rank of general is typically tied to their position that they're holding, not to a permanent grade. Therefore, again, they can retire at the rank they held while leaving active duty. So, as I stated previously, the President, as Commander-in-Chief, has the authority to appoint 3- and 4-star flag officers, but they're ultimately confirmed by the United States Senate. This is a policy which allows for congressional oversight, while it still provides substantial latitude for the executive branch. In fact, the Senate is involved in confirming all active duty officers who reach the rank of 04, Major and Lieutenant Commander, and above. That list of candidates, which, by the way, can contain thousands of names, goes through the Senate Armed Services Committee. And once the committee approves that list, the committee's recommendation for promotion goes to the Senate floor, where they're usually passed by unanimous consent vote. Now, typically, the Senate confirmation hearings, or boardings, if you will, are reserved for 4-star command positions, like combat commanders, military service chiefs, joint chiefs of staff, major theater commands, agency chiefs. Those candidates may be required to meet face-to-face with the Senate Armed Services Committee for a grilling. However, there are some 4-star positions that are not required to go before the committee, like staff positions and functional commands. Rarely do 3-star nominees go before the committee. Now, also, nominees for 4-star positions must sign an agreement to provide a personal view on questions that are submitted by the committee, even if their views differ from that of the administration. They must also submit to the Senate Armed Services answers to 100 or so advanced policy questions. And these answers must be submitted at least a week in advance. And these questions typically cover operations, strategy, policy topics. And most nominees will try to meet with as many committee members as possible ahead of the confirmation hearings. And in those meetings, senators usually ask about the candidates' leadership plans, or they'll try to get the candidates' commitments on policy proposals from the administration. So, the Senate Armed Services Committee controls the process. If you don't get by them, you're not going to get the job. Doesn't matter what the president wants. Doesn't matter what your branch of service wants. Doesn't matter what the Joint Chiefs want. If you don't get by the committee, then you're not going to get the job. And you're probably aware that the number of general flag officer positions in each branch of military service and their required duties are dictated by federal statute. But the statute can be altered by federal lawmakers. The White House has the authority to do a wholesale realignment but the realignment still requires oversight by Congress. For example, back in 2011, Congress specified that the chief of the National Guard Bureau should be a member of the Joint Chiefs of Staff with the specific responsibility of addressing matters involving non-federalized National Guard forces in support of Homeland Defense and civil support missions. It's interesting to note, a president can unilaterally fire a general officer, but he cannot unilaterally confirm a general officer. If the president were to fire all the sitting generals right now, then there has to be a Senate confirmation of every single general officer that backfills that fired individual. That's oversight. So you might ask, what would this mean? Well, a good picture of what that could look like in reality could be similar to the recent situation that was led by Senator Tommy Tuberville, who had a protest against the Defense Department's abortion travel policy, which held up more than 200 general officer confirmations. In the Senate, it takes only one senator to hold up nominations offered by the Senate Armed Services Committee, even if the other 99 want the nominations to move forward. One senator can hold up the whole process. Must be unanimous. Tuberville objected to the one-year-old federal policy that reimburses travel costs and offers paid leave of absence for active duty service members who travel out of state to seek abortions that are not available locally, even though very few military personnel have used the reimbursement program. In fact, only 12 women had used the program at the time. Ultimately, the senator relinquished his position and the promotions were approved by the Senate. But, in fact, promotion holds are a useful tool that the Senate should use when they have questions about the performance of the person that is being reviewed for confirmation, even though the Armed Forces Committee may have already approved them. So, if you're a nominee that did something bad, or you failed in your job, or you did not live up to the principles of being a general officer, the Senate has every right to place a hold on your promotion and to investigate and, if so desired, not approve you. So you might be curious as to why I selected this topic of presentation today. My answer is quite simple. On January 20, a new administration will assume responsibility for managing the affairs of the United States of America. As with any government, the number one priority is the country's defense and the security of its citizens. That responsibility rests exclusively in the hands of the President of the United States, the Commander-in-Chief. The President must have senior officers in his command that he trusts to fulfill his assigned duties. And if necessary, he has the right, in fact, he has the obligation to call for a plucking board to thin out senior ranking officers that are deemed incapable of achieving the administration's goals for national defense and the security of its citizens. You can expect that the incoming administration will carry out a similar plan of instituting a plucking board to review general officers and identify those that will remain in service and those that will be dismissed. As with corporate America, in the military, it is not what you've done for the country yesterday. It's what you're willing to do for the country today and tomorrow. So I do have a few announcements that I would like to make. Number one is a reminder that next week, December 6th and also December 20, we have guest speakers that will be coming to join us, and I'm confident that you'll find both of these guest speakers to be extraordinarily interesting on the stories that they will relay. So I would appreciate very much the support of these guest speakers. Also, if any of you have yet to visit our YouTube site, I would like to encourage you to do so and share that site with family, friends, and certainly if you have someone that is currently serving in the military or deployed. Yeah. Additionally, on December 13 and 14, Reach Across America, we had given this announcement previously, but they are going to be placing wreaths at the Mountain View Cemetery. They're on Main Street in Mesa. And on Friday, December 13th, they are going to be unboxing the wreaths that are being shipped in. And then the following day on Saturday, they'll actually be placing the wreaths on the graves, and there'll be a formal ceremony there. So I would encourage you, if at all possible, to volunteer to assist that particular program. Many of you here today will remember that one of our R.E.D members, who was a frequent attendee going back to the early days of our program, Bud Raleigh, passed away last Monday, 85 years of age. Bud was a United States Army veteran who enlisted back in October 1953 following the Korean War. Served through October 1961. He was a radio repairman, served with the 11th Airborne Division, Signal Corps, Fort Campbell, achieved the rank of Master Sergeant E8 prior to his discharge. Rest in peace, Bud Raleigh. So to our first-time guests that are here this morning, thank you for joining us. We certainly appreciate your coming and encourage you to return. We'd love to have you in supporting our mission. And also, for those of you who have yet to celebrate your Thanksgiving meal, I'm sure that folks like IHOP and Applebee's will probably have Thanksgiving turkey still left over. If you haven't had turkey on Thanksgiving, you hadn't had Thanksgiving. I want you to enjoy the remainder of your Thanksgiving weekend. And to all of you, let us not discount the importance of this mission, and that is to remember everyone deployed. You folks have a wonderful weekend. Thank you.